Leaders of France and Japan pledging to step up their coordination to help end that war in Iran and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. French President Emmanuel Macron in Tokyo addressing why it matters to work together to ensure energy security. Both countries have been grappling with high energy costs, with 90% of Japan's crude oil supply passing through the Strait of Hormuz.
D'abord et avant tout, nous croyons ensemble au droit international, à l'ordre international qui repose sur la Charte des Nations Unies. Nous croyons aussi aux valeurs démocratiques que nous défendons. C'est ce qui fait que vous venez de le rappeler, nous défendons l'un et l'autre le retour à la paix, au cessez-le-feu, au calme, à la libre circulation à travers le détroit d'Ormuz.
安全保障環境が厳しさを増す、国際情勢において、G7 議長国でもあるフランスを含めた同志国との連携が一層重要になってきております。安全保障、防衛や経済安全保障などの分野で戦略的な連携を、しっかりと強化したいと考えています。
Ross Cullen is covering this story for CNA from Paris. Ross, both countries, Japan and France, wanting to step up their coordination to end the war on Iran. How can they do that?
Yeah, that's correct, Wei Su. In terms of the impacts on energy markets in Paris and Tokyo, there's been a huge effect in Japan because of its reliance on oil coming from the Gulf and through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, France, as part of the European Union, only gets about 9% of its oil passing through the Gulf and then the Strait of Hormuz. But because it buys it on international markets, any international price fluctuation on oil markets is going to affect buyers like the European Union. That's why we've seen an impact here as well. Both nations likely to be involved in these talks we expect later in the week, hosted by the United Kingdom, to try to organise a coordinated approach to how to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, especially because the US president says a reopening of that crucial maritime waterway is perhaps not a condition he needs to see satisfied in order to end the war in Iran.
Well, Ross, something else that Mr. Trump has raised in just the last 24 hours, criticism of NATO again. Of course, France is a NATO member. Japan is not a NATO member, but is one of the Indo-Pac force, so a key partner of NATO in the Indo-Pacific. How has Mr. Macron certainly answered those latest criticisms from Donald Trump?
Well, Emmanuel Macron did mention the Indo-Pacific in his news conference with Sanae Takaichi, the Japanese Prime Minister, hailing France's Indo-Pacific strategy that it has through its overseas possessions, particularly in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. In terms of the NATO warnings from the Trump administration, certainly France, as part of the broader European response, not to get involved in the war in Iran. It's not a war that Europe started. It's not a war that Europe feels it needs to be involved in or trying to finish that war, especially because the European Union does not rely on the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz as much as Asian economies in terms of oil and gas, most of that coming from the United States, Norway and Algeria as well. In terms of the NATO membership issue, the United States would need to seek the approval of the Senate and or pass an act of Congress, not something that Donald Trump can do unilaterally, as to pull out of NATO. He has warned before that he believes the alliance is not pulling its weight, not doing as much as the United States is doing to try to support NATO. He's previously urged other NATO countries like France to increase the share of GDP that they spend on their NATO membership, on their defence budgets. So we will have to see if this is another bluff from Donald Trump or if he is serious about pulling out of NATO.
Oh, thanks for that. Ross Cullen covering the story for CNA from Paris, because Emmanuel Macron visiting, making that trip there to Japan and speaking to the Japanese Prime Minister.